Welcome back to Authors and Innovators. We're continuing our segment on changing the story, reimagining responsibility as leadership, and I'm delighted that Maisie Ganzler is with us. Maisie was Chief Strategy and Brand Officer at Bon Appetit Management. It is a subsidiary of Compass Group, the largest food service company in the world. And her book, with probably the most fun title of all the books we're featuring this year, You Can't Market Manure at Lunchtime. It's a thoughtful guide on approaching sustainability as a business driver and as a market differentiator. Maisie, welcome. Tell us a bit about you and how you came to think about sustainability and write this book.
It's great to be here, Larry. Thank you so much. As you said, I spent 30 years as the Chief Strategy and Brand Officer for Bon Appetit Management Company, and it was a unique company to brand in that it was a B2B play without a logo for customers to see, without our name anywhere, and so we had to create a brand in a different way. We did that through sustainability, through leading with our values and connecting with customers on an emotional level. I wanted to teach others how to do that, so I wrote the book, as you said, You Can't Market Manure at Lunchtime, and other lessons from the food industry for creating a more sustainable company. It's transferable lessons from my experience to any industry if you want to create a go-to-market strategy based on your values.
It's a terrific and thoughtful read, really fun. Maisie, I want to talk a bit more about you and it really as a model for a lot of leaders who might be coming to our event thinking, all right, it's easier to do tomorrow what I did yesterday. And because sustainability is, quote, such a buzzword, why do I need to do this? And sustainability is defined so nebulously. Talk a bit about your journey as a leader and how you define sustainability.
Well, first, I would say if you're looking at sustainability purely because it is a buzzword, stop right now.
Right.
Your customers will see that. Your employees will feel it. What I hope people can do is that they can transform all the processes of their business, the true heart of what they do, to focus on sustainability or whatever their values is they're trying to put forward, and then tell a great story about it. I know your theme is about storytelling, and I love that. You've got to do a lot of work before you get to the storytelling part.
Talk a bit about the title, because I want to get into how you literally got into supply chain, understanding a bit more of your job. So talk a bit about, I don't want to give too much away because I think this is such a great book and want people to get it. Talk a little bit about where the title came from and your own adventure in the experience of manure.
So the title comes from the opening story of the book, and the book is very story-driven, hopefully an easy read, written very conversationally. But I open with the story of my boss, our founder and CEO, Fidel Bauchio, yelling at the nation's largest pork producer about manure and about how they are literally spraying it in the air. So large confinement hog operations have a lot of manure to deal with. And one of the ways they do it is spray it on fields. That creates air pollution so that nearby communities have higher incidences.
You're breathing it in, right? Yeah.
Lung-related diseases. So Fidel had seen this firsthand, and that's a big piece of what I preach, is get out and see things firsthand. As you said, get into your supply chain, right? Even if it means walking in the manure. He had seen it firsthand. He was fired up about it. He wanted to change the practices. And I was really excited about that. It was a great environmental benefit. But I was also thinking to myself, we sell food. You can't talk about manure at lunchtime. And so the crux of the book is how do you make real environmental or social change, but also get market credit for it so it becomes a business driver.
I love that piece, and that's so riveting. It does pull you into the story. You talk a bit about picking your battles, find your focus, And how do you find ideas for initiatives? So whether you are a food service company or a software company or a marketing company, and you say, Maisie, well, that was great for you to do, but how do I pick where do I start?
The first thing you do is you get out of your office, be it your home office or if you've gone back.
Great advice.
Whatever it is, get out into the world. Go to conferences, both the ones that are obvious about your industry, and then also some wild cards where there might be some people that are a little bit more radical than you, people that are really pushing the boundaries, where advocates are, so you can hear where the future is. Go into your supply chain. In my case, that's farms. In your case, it might be server farms, right? You might not be looking at chickens, you might be looking at widgets, but go out and see them. Keep your eyes open. I had some of my ideas for initiatives on my own vacations. I was trekking in Sri Lanka and saw women harvesting tea in these 25-kilo bags and started talking to the people about how much they made for that. And it started raining and they were still harvesting. And out of that became Bon Appetit's initiative to be the first company to commit to fair trade tea. So keep your eyes open, talk to people, and ask what their dreams are and where they'd like to go, and see if you can make your company the impetus for that.
Maisie, this was hard. Last year, our one of our authors was Ron Shake from Obanpan, who talked a bit about how to fix his challenges of a very changing demographic that expected this. How difficult was it for you? You had a pretty supportive, visionary CEO. What do you say to someone who really needs to convince the powers that be that this is really this isn't just a good thing to do. It's not virtue signaling, but it's really important. Can you give some advice around that?
Well, you start with data if you've got to convince, and Google any study on the current and upcoming generations, and you see that they care about world problems and they want to be part of the solution. Two of my favorite statistics are that searches for sustainable products in the last 5 years are up 71%, and 68% of people say they don't trust corporations. So that's a big mismatch.
Big combination. Right.
And if you can make your company that trustworthy company that meets the sustainability desire, you've got market differentiation. And think about sustainability as a revenue driver, not just as an expense.
Exactly.
And that's going to maybe be the mental switch that the executives that need convincing need to think about. How much more business will you get? How many times more frequently will a customer buy your product? Will they pay a premium? Maybe they won't, but may they buy your product more often? And how does that translate to your bottom line?
Did you get pushback along the way, either from internal pressures or external pressures? I know you talk a little bit about finding leverage points in the book. Encourage some folks who might be listening and attending our conference. What do you do when you do have to motivate allies and tell that story? Because it isn't just one and done when you walk in and talk to leadership. I like the idea of focusing on profitability and saying this is about bottom line.
Absolutely.
But talk a bit about finding leverage points for someone who wants to make change in an organization.
Well, I think we look certainly at revenues, as I just talked about, but also look at how these initiatives can affect some of your expenses. For Bon Appetit, sustainability and being able to cook in this way became our greatest recruiting tool.
Right.
It becomes your retention tool. We all know how expensive recruiting turnover is, right? So can you look at ways that this actually reduces your expense in addition to driving your revenues? And then you've got to really believe it yourself and not be afraid to be the one that's out there on the edge, not be afraid to fail. I think if you're doing this right and you're really taking a leadership position, you're going to stumble. My whole lesson 4 is what to do when you fall short, because I promise you will. But bake that into your system so that you don't have to dig yourself out of a hole internally while you're fixing the supply chain problem that happened also, right?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the great examples you talked about when companies fall short and they have to pivot. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a bit about the McDonald's example that you share in the book?
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, McDonald's, along with many other companies, under the pressure of the Humane Society of the United States, made a commitment to eliminate gestation crates from their supply chain. Gestation crates are an inhumane way that pregnant sows are kept immobilized so that they do nothing, literally, but eat while they gestate, while the piglets are in, right? And McDonald's made this commitment, keyword, eliminate gestation crates. Fast forward 10 years, and they quietly tried to rewrite that policy to say that the sows should be in group housing. So no longer in gestation crates, but in group housing. Now, the difference is that they were still keeping the sows in the crates till the confirmation of pregnancy, so for about a month. And a sow's pregnant for 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, so call it 4 months. They hoped nobody would notice. Well, it turned out a few people did notice this change, this pivot, including Carl Icahn. Mm-hmm. And Carl Icahn said to me on a call, and some other people, he said, "I have more money than I can spend in a lifetime. For some reason, I care about these pigs, and I'm going to spend it on this." And so he launched an activist campaign against McDonald's, put 2 people up for board membership, myself and a woman named Leslie Samuelrich from Green.
It's a great story.
And McDonald's spent, in addition to the time required to fight this battle against Carl Icahn, they spent $16 million to counter this proxy battle. So I know exactly how scary I am. I am $8 million scary. I promise you, had they let me or Leslie onto the board, we would have been working towards McDonald's succeeding. We would have been working towards McDonald's meeting the needs and the desires of their future customers, not in dismantling the organization. As it turns out, we didn't win the proxy war. We never were going to. But McDonald's cleaned house of the board member in charge of sustainability, their government affairs and communications person, their purchasing person, all because they tried to pivot and hide from their initial commitment. That is not how to fix it when you fall short.
You gave a great example, and it's so wonderful and so appropriate for this juncture at Authors and Innovators. You talk about the importance of storytelling and how to tell a story, which you just did. This isn't about dismantling. This is really about helping you succeed, and succeed in a good way that your customers expect and that your employees expect. Can you offer a tip or two, not spoiling the book, about how to tell a story when you step back and someone's explaining to you, my goodness, how do I sell this either to my customers or my boss?
Well, in storytelling, I think you have to have ups and downs. You have to have wins and losses, right? Good company does good thing is not an interesting story.
Right.
You need to talk about the connection. You need to not be afraid of talking about how hard something was, or even better, and I'm going to say better, when you failed.
Love
because
it.
If you did something and it was easy, who's going to give you credit for it? But if you failed and you came back and you persevered, everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves a hero's journey. Be that hero in your own story. And that will get the press interested. It'll get your customers interested, and it makes your story stickier. People will remember it.
Yeah, I just love that part of the book, and it's so apropos. It's really the point where I said I've got to reach out and see if Maisie can join us and share this great wisdom. Maisie, who do you want to read this?
I want anybody who wants to create a go-to-market strategy based on their values to read the book. That is people at startups that are just starting out, deciding how they're going to position their company, all the way to senior leaders at big mainline companies that need to appeal to future generations. And even if you're not at the very top, if you're a middle manager, if you're entry level, we all have power. We all have a sphere of influence. So see how you can leverage that.
I love it. Very important. Maisie, what are you reading, watching, listening to these days that inspires you?
Well, I just saw it. I wish I had the exact title with me, but I just saw that Bob Martin at Johns Hopkins University has a compilation of essays coming out under the Johns Hopkins University Press print that is about how antibiotics has impacted animal agriculture and public health. And there's been a number of studies just I've seen in the past couple of days about the skyrocketing rates of antibiotic resistant bacteria and what a public health crisis that is. Yeah. So I'm interested to read many people's perspectives on that.
That's terrific. And for folks to learn more, what do you suggest? Other than they've got to read the book, because you have some great resources, particularly throughout and at the end as well. But what other resources can people find on their journey?
Well, I would say find the forward-looking news outlet of your industry. In mine, in food, it's called Civil Eats. They actually just took down their paywall, so anybody can go and read the breadth of articles that are there. In your industry, there's going to be one too. There's going to be somebody writing about the cutting edge of AI from an ethical standpoint. We know that for sure, right? There's somebody writing about supply chains in China. There's many people that are out there on the edge. Find those people and read that.
It is just a great resource for leaders who want to reimagine their responsibility as leaders and as leaders in a sustainable way. So, Maisie Ganzler, thank you so much. The book is You Can't Market Manure at Lunchtime. Thank you again for being with us at Authors and Innovators.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.